You're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of ABK Media Group, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County every day at 9 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. Hello, all my Gwinnetians out there in Gwinnett land. How you doing this morning? All of you listen to the show around the world. So happy to be here with you this morning. It's a beautiful day. It is hot, though. It is already 86 degrees, going up to about 96, so it is hot. I went outside yesterday. I thought I was going to burn up. I was like, oh, my God. Here's the problem. I'm always inside in the air conditioning, so when I have to go outside, it's like, oh, my God, it's hot outside. But it is a beautiful day here. Gonna be hot, though. It really is. So, listen, you know what today is? Today is Thursday, and I got a guest sitting at the table with me today. I know you guys think I don't interview anything but politicians, but I promise I got some entrepreneurs coming. I do. But here's the thing. The politicians are showing up. They are community leaders. They want to tell you what they're about, and I'm happy to talk to them to find out what they're about. They want to run this county, so we need to know what they're trying to do, right? Right. But before I do that, I'm going to kick it off with my horoscopes brought to you by astrologer Michael Thyssen. He is our noted astrologer here on the Good Morning Gwinnett show, and today is August the 22nd. Listen, we got 1 month before we are into fall. Can you believe that? Like, this year has flown by, like, for real. Like, we are almost September, like, we got one more weekend to be September. Time is flying. Do you hear me? So I hope you're hitting all your goals, doing everything you need to do, because we're almost in the last quarter of the year. All right, but let's kick it off with our horoscope today. Aries, catch up on overdue phone calls and correspondence. Toning, fitness, pampering should be scheduled. Don't let coworkers interfere with your objectives. Tell them to mind their business. That's all I'm going to say. Tell your coworkers, listen, stay out of my business. I got things I'm trying to do, and I don't need you in my business. Taurus, residential moves will be hectic and may be unsatisfactory. Get ready to do some fancy footwork when it comes to taking care of your financial situation. Handle your money. Watch the coins, Taurus. Watch the coins. You can make it. You can make it up to them later. All right. Gemini, look into ways that you can make extra cash. Okay. See, this is a money. Here's one of these days is all about money, right? So for you too, make some extra money today, Gemini. You'll have great insight. Your lover will be extremely sensitive, and now would not be a good time to make changes that they won't like. So be careful about what your plans are when you're making changes today. Cancer, it might be best not to spend your money. Okay, this is the third horoscope we're talking about money, so it's all about the coins today. It might be best not to spend your money on luxuries today. A quiet, restful day, just staying in bed and catching up on reading will be your best bet. How I wish in my dreams, I wish I could do that. A new image can be the result of a change if you change your look. Okay, all right. Change is always good. Leo, you have no problem getting your point across to those in a position to help you. You can get a lot done if your hands are on the right equipment. Peers may not be on your side. Watch your back. Watch your back, Leo. They're not on your side. Don't even let them talk you into doing something. And Virgo, avoid any gossip and be careful that you are misinterpreted. You may find that your boss is not delighted with your work lately. Your desire for excitement and adventure may be expensive. All right. Want to have some good fun. I understand, Virgo. I understand. Listen, we're going to go to a song. I'll be right back after this song to give you the rest of the horoscopes brought to you by astrologer Michael Thyssen right here on the Good Morning Gwinnett show.
You're the only one I think about, yeah. You're the only one for me. The only one I care about, yeah. Thinking about you day and night, yeah. You're the only one for me. I just wanna get it right, yeah. Ooh, yeah. You're the one I'm thinking of. Come on and take my love. Let's go and we can fly away. We're taking off to the sky. It's you and me tonight. Ooh, baby. You know that we're something special. Baby boy, you are my treasure. I know we got it. It's amazing how you rock my world. You're the only one for me. Never thought that I would be your girl. Ooh, yeah. You're the one I'm thinking of. Come on and take my love. Let's go and we can fly away. We're taking off to the sky. It's you and me tonight. Ooh, baby. I knew that it was something special. Baby boy, you are my treasure. I know we got it. I know we got it, baby. Got it, baby. I knew that it was something special. Baby boy, you are my treasure. I know we got it. I know we got it, baby. Got it, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know we got it. Yeah, yeah. I know we got it. I know we got it. I know we got it, baby. Got it, baby.
Hey, welcome back to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. You're listening to the horoscopes brought to you by astrologer Michael Thyssen. We're going to pick it up with Libra. Sudden trips will take you by surprise. You can write your beautiful love letters today. Love letters, I like those. Try not to be too aggressive or judgmental when talking to your mate. Listen, they always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So watch out what you say. I'm just saying, Libra. Scorpio, you can accomplish the most if you travel for business purposes. You may find that romance will unfold through business connections. You can open up to your mate and let them know what you expect out of a relationship. They can't read your mind, Scorpio. Let them know. Just be easy, though, because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Sagittarius, you may be angry if someone tries to credit you for something you did. You can gain approval, get kudos, and ask for help if you put a little heart into your speech or request. You should sit down with someone you trust and work out a budget that will enable you to save a little extra. So one of my friends is doing a challenge right now. It's called a dime challenge. I thought that was such a cool challenge. So you get a 2-liter soda bottle and you fill it up with dimes. I thought that her name is Lori Goodman, and she's the queen of finance, and she has started the dime challenge. So we are asking you all to join this challenge. I don't know. Now, what you going to do with your dimes, I don't know. She said by the time you fill up a 2-liter bottle with dimes, that's about $700, which is pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm starting a 2-liter bottle for my grandbaby. So, okay, Capricorn, dealing with in-laws or relatives will not be in your best interest. Watch out for the in-laws. Your best not to get involved in joint financial ventures. I told y'all this is a money day. Earn a little, save a little, watch a little. It's a money day. It's all about the money today. Don't expect others to live up to your promises, and you won't be disappointed or find yourself stuck with delays. People will disappoint you. Let me just say that, Capricorn. But if you don't expect anything, then you can't really be disappointed. Aquarius, be ready to explain your actions. Put in some extra hours and finish those careful jobs before you move on to some fun and games. Finish your work first. Do your work first. Then move on to the fun and games. Minor health problems may flare up if you haven't been taking care of yourself or have been burning a candle at both ends. That's right. Take care of yourself. You all you got. My fellow fish, Pisces, don't let children or elders put demands on your time. You may find yourself in the limelight for the wrong reasons. Escapist tendencies will result in a poor reputation and lack of confidence. Escapist tendency. I'm not trying to escape today. I'm really here. I'm present. I'm in the now. Right now. All right, so listen, that's all I got for you in the horoscope world. I'll be back on Monday to bring you more of the horoscopes brought to you by astrologer Michael Thyssen right here on the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. Because today is Thursday, guys. You know, I don't do broadcasting on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays unless somebody invites me out to do a live broadcast. But listen, I got a guest sitting at the table with me today. You know, this is Thursday. This is when I have people at the table. I call it a seat at the table. And so today I got Ms. Brooke Siskin with me. She is running for the chairman seat for the commissioner of Gwinnett County. So I had an opportunity to talk to Chairman Nash early on, like real early on, so you can go back and listen to her interview. But I'm talking to Brooke, and Brooke has her hands full because there's a lot of people in this race. I got approached at a networking event just last week about some people who wanted me to jump on board with them. And, you know, here's the thing. I'm a media person. You know, I got great ideas. I'm a marketing person. And so it's interesting to be in an arena where people say, hey, come on, I got a meeting next week. You know, anyway, Brooke is sitting here with me today at the table, and she's going to talk about what her plans are for Gwinnett County if she is elected commissioner, chairman. That's a big seat here in Gwinnett. You know, it's so funny. and I'm ashamed to say this, slapped my hand with a wet noodle. I knew who the chairman was. I didn't know who the heck our mayor was in Lawrenceville. That is terrible. And we have a female mayor. I did not know. Because you don't hear a lot about the mayor. That's the crazy thing. Like, you wouldn't even think we had a mayor. I'm sorry to say that, mayor, but I'm just saying, nobody, I've been here 6 years. And I finally found out the mayor's name. Her name is Judy Johnson, I think. I think that's her name. Judy Jordan? Judy Jordan. That's a shame. It's shameful, right? But she's very low-key. Like, I don't know what she's doing. So, anyway, I think that seat is up, too, this year. So I'm going to talk to somebody who's running for that seat. Brooke is here, and she's going to tell us about herself. She has a very interesting story. I did a little history on her family. You know, her family started a steel company way back when Ford and Carnegie and J.P. Morgan and C.W. Post, they were all probably running in the same little circle back there. Pretty interesting. But who is Brooke Siskin? Who is that? Welcome, Brooke, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Yes, and by the way, Virgos, exactly what you mean. They're very meticulous, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
And I am a Virgo, and proud of it, by the way.
My niece is a Virgo, and she's a poli-sci major. She's coming out in December. She goes to Georgia Southern. But when I tell you, I say to her all the time, oh, my God, I need you on my team, because she's very organized.
Exactly.
She's very punctual. Right. She's she dots every I and cross every T. That's her thing, you know, and I love her for that. I'm like, oh, my God, you need to work with Auntie so bad. So, Brooke, tell us a little bit about your backstory, because I know you have a very interesting backstory.
Okay. Well, yes, I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. 1968, born the year of everything. My family is from the steel background. In fact, my grandfather and his cousins kind of were all involved in the same business, which was steel, aluminum, steel, all kinds of areas, scrap business, if you want to call it. My grandfather had his own, and then the other cousins started their scrap business. We also were in another type of business. At my our cousin Garrison Siskin started the 365 Club, which is for kids with special needs and disability as well, and that still goes strong today in Chattanooga. And it's a great organization, and so we're in a couple different areas in Chattanooga. I lived there for all 18 of my years of life, and then I went to school in Alabama, went to California, and then came back here to Gwinnett County in Georgia in 1992. Okay. In fact, I came back because I was in California, and my dad said, hey, listen, you need to come on back. He had a catering business, both in several different cities, and he had a place here in Atlanta. And he said, I'd like you to come back. I just graduated from school. I said, why would I want to come back to the South? And he said, because Atlanta's changing. In fact, we just won the Olympics. And I said, oh, really? We actually won the Olympics? I said, oh, that's good. I guess we really are, things are coming up for Georgia in Atlanta. So I came back and moved to Buckhead, at that time, and then decided, well, let's just put it this way. I was working for a company, MCI, if anybody knows about that. No longer. And I was working in one of the security guards was a real estate agent. And mind you, MCI was in Roswell, on Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, okay? And I said, I'm dating this guy, and he lives in Cobb County, and I live in Buckhead, and I want to find a place where we can settle down. We're thinking of getting married, okay? And he said, you know what? I want to tell you about Gwinnett County and Peachtree Corners, okay, which really wasn't even a city at the time. And so he said, I'm going to show you some homes over there. And I said, okay, great. So we first rented, and then we bought in 94 in Peachtree Corners. Wasn't a city back then. And when my dad said, he says, why are you moving to Gwinnett County? That's East Jesus living there. I said, well, there's opportunity. Now, this was, mind you, 25 years ago or 26 years ago. So lots of people who lived in Gwinnett County then didn't live here now.
Right.
It was half of the population, if not.
Right.
So, it was East Jesus when you think about it. But we were willing to be the pioneers and move into the area.
Okay.
And lo and behold, almost 26 years later, I have been in the county. Okay. So, but anyway, I have been in Gwinnett County for that long. Now, I got into politics in 2008. But before that, I was in several different occupations. I ran my own. It's kind of interesting. We did a remodel in my house in the early 2000s. We gutted a kitchen and everything like that, and I had piecemealed the entire project together, and I was using like all different contractors. And one of my contractors said to me, "Hey, you know what? You ought to like do," and this was kind of when Angie's List was starting up, "you ought to like work with all these contractors, refer out them to people that that have a specialization in it, and then and then we'll pay you and all that." And I said, this is kind of interesting. And I was married at the time, and I was like, oh, this might be and I'm a marketing person, PR marketing, and I said, you know what? You're right. Let's try this business. And this was the height of the housing market before the bubble burst. And so we I called my company Help Around the Corners.
Oh, that's nice.
For Peachtree Corners. And I did the entire project. I mean, I pretty much ran the show. I screened the contractors. I got to know them, did a background check, and then went at it. I marketed myself. I got out there. I spoke to everybody, businesses, whatnot, told them about my services. And sure enough, I did really well myself. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I want to go back a little
sure.
bit. Back to your family for a second. Is your family still in the steel business?
My family, the cousins are. My grandfather, who did start his own part of the scrap business, has been gone since 1986. Siskin Steel is still being run by the family. Okay. And also the Siskin 365 Club is run by several benefactors.
Okay. So you have a little bit of with family history, family legacy business, and then you being an entrepreneur yourself. Because I know one of the things that is big here in Gwinnett County, probably throughout the United States, but I see a lot of economic development here in Gwinnett County.
Exactly.
And so you were a small business owner. Are you still running that business?
Oh, no. So what happened was around 2008 when the housing bubble started to almost burst, actually 2007. I'm gonna go back. 2007. I was doing real well. I'd been on TV. I'd been around, had many clients. I had about 20 contractors. I got a little letter in the mail saying someone was going to copyright infringe me and sue me. And that was Ace Hardware. And they said, hey, you're using our tagline, Help Around the Corners. And listen, if you don't cease and desist, we're going to sue you. And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, where did they find this woman running a small little business in Georgia? And, because their main headquarters, I think, is in Minnesota. And they want to copyright infringe. I must have made some impact somewhere, And so I talked to my lawyer at the time, and he's like, look, it's going to cost you too much to go through everything, and then at that point I said, how much is it worth it keeping this business? Well, we were already into like almost 5 years. So I was like, okay, let me just disband this thing.
Why didn't you just rebrand?
I could have rebranded. It would have cost, to be honest, there was a number of factors. And of course the housing market was starting to go down. So I literally just basically said, okay, it's not worth it. And these guys, big time lawyers and all that, if they're going to try to copyright, infringe me. Yeah, right. So yeah.
And so looking back in hindsight, like, because I'm sitting here listening to you, and I guess when you think about the early 2000s, 2008, 2009, because I got caught up in that whole bubble as a homeowner. I mean, they got me. They beat the heck out of me. I didn't know any better. I was a first-time home buyer in 2006, and I came right at the beginning of that whole mess. But anyway, when I look back, where I am right now, if I'm looking back at what you had built, right, I look like I'm saying to myself, man, she could have pivoted. She could have like rebranded and pivoted and picked up another specialty, because my house got messed up I lived in Jersey at the time, and we had a severe storm. It was Hugo. Was it Hugo? No, it wasn't Hugo, because Hugo was my neighbor. And we had a bad storm in Jersey. And people don't know. Now, I live 3 hours from the shore, but when we had rainstorms, it would flood my street, and I lived in the suburbs. But the street would flood, and it flooded my house, the basement. It knocked out all the power in our area, and I had a lot of home damage because of that. And so we had to bring in contractors to come in and then get the mold out and all kinds of craziness. And we had a neighbor called Hugo. That's what I'm thinking. Hugo had 5 generators. And he lit up the whole block and around the corner with his generator. He was so nice. And I wrote an article for the Patch called Like a Good Neighbor, Hugo is There. Because he was. Like, he gave all of us electricity for about 4 days because we had no electricity. But he had like 5 generators going, and that was a great thing. But I'm thinking now, like, maybe you could have pivoted and saved the business.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something. It was kind of like a side business in a sense, but, you know, I worked out of my house, and I was married at the time, and it was just me, and, you know, a number of things. But timing-wise with the housing market where it was, and I kind of saw that writing on the wall. So it was actually kind of not maybe the right time to get out at that point. And then, of course, got into politics. And the only reason I got into politics is because I was actually watching on that time, back in 2007, I think, or the end of 2007, watching a podcast or something on YouTube where a young senator from Illinois said he was going to run for president, and reminded me. Now, I was born in '68, so I wasn't there for, you know, the MLK or the Kennedys or any of that stuff, but reminded me of somebody that I would have maybe met in that era. And I didn't really know about Barack Obama. I mean, I knew about him. I knew about him being speaking at the convention in 2004, which he did great. But I did not know the power of him, and I did not know about his community, being a community organizer. And so I started reading up. I think Audacity of Hope was coming out, that book. And so I was just mesmerized by the man. He was like something that I hadn't seen in my lifetime, because I had really not been involved in politics. And in that way, you know, as far as getting involved in a presidential campaign. So I got on board. Okay. Basically, what I did was I at that time, OFA, which is Obama for America, did not have a team of people together yet. This was late 2007 into early 2008 when he announced. So we all had, every person that was going to be on his team has to go train in Chicago. Right. So we went up to, a group of us went up from Georgia to go ahead and train underneath OFA, under David Plouffe and all these people that were on board. And so the training that I got in early 2008 of that year in Chicago blew me away, because it was the idea that Obama had done, which was community organizing. So I was all excited. We came back and they assigned us, was in Georgia, to the closest primary state, which was South Carolina. Because nothing at that time, Georgia really wasn't, in play. And I, like I said, not really in politics before. I went over and worked with a team of people in Greenville, South Carolina, to start up their field office. Okay. At that time, Hillary Clinton was the front runner. Okay. Everybody felt Hillary was going to win. Right. Okay. Biden was out there. That was the funny thing. John Edwards, all of these people. There wasn't as many as now, but there was about eight people that were running the primary. And Obama was not even considered a shoo-in. I mean, as a front runner at that point.
Know how that could go.
Right. But here's what Obama was doing in 2008. He was going to places that no one else was going in South Carolina. Okay. In the area I was in, red South Carolina, there are people there. There are African Americans all over the place. There are all kinds of people, but nobody was getting engaged until, around that year. I mean, so we were going into places that nobody was going into. Okay. We saw people, the other candidates out there, but we were one step ahead of them. We were going into grocery stores. We were going into, churches, definitely.
Right.
We were going into places that nobody else was thinking of going back in 2008,
right,
when there really wasn't, in South Carolina. Okay.
Right.
And so that was where I got my on the boots ground training.
Right.
And we all worked together. We had people on that campaign that came from other countries to help us. We had Ireland. We had Australia.
They wanted him to win.
Right. And everybody was not giving Obama a chance at all early in that time. They were saying, no, listen, this guy's going to be toast after, after the primaries and then some. And so we were all excited when he won South Carolina in early 2008. And that was great because it was an effort by lots of people. Okay. And what we did was we didn't give up. We said, hey, we know what the odds are, but we know what we have to do to get out there and make it happen for the person we work for.
Right.
And so I think that's as indicative today as it was back then. Should be the attitude that most people should take, because you don't know, until you're out there and those people get to meet you and you get to tell them and they get to tell you how they feel about something, or you get to interact with them on a daily basis. So these are the things that the knowledge I took from that, from that campaign back into Georgia, because one of the reasons I didn't move on to New Hampshire or to the longer start of it is because I, at the time, had a 10-year-old daughter and I was married, and I had to make the decision: who's more important in my life right now, my family or this campaign?
Absolutely.
So I probably missed my calling at that point because I didn't know where Obama, if he was going to become president.
It wasn't your time.
It wasn't my time.
It wasn't your time. And that's the thing. Like, we think we miss opportunities, but in reality, it's just not your time. Maybe now it's your time, because I know you ran for a seat in 2012. Tell us a little bit about that campaign.
Okay.
What was that?
So after Obama won, and by the way, what a year 2008 was. I didn't just come back. I came back and worked for the DPG, for the Democrat Party of Georgia, helping some other candidates who were running. And then 2009, I attended the inauguration with all of my friends where I grew up. It was probably the best. Is 20-something degrees at the inauguration. We were all freezing ourselves off, but we were in the 20th row, and we went to the ball, and we hung, and we all hung together. These are my friends from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I went to high school with, Notre Dame High School, Catholic High School. All African Americans, just what you understand. My best friend in the world went to Howard, and she lived up there, so we all hung out at her house, and we just had the best time. 2009, I started thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Do I want to, what do I want to do next? And I started thinking about a House seat, a Georgia legislature House seat where I lived in Peachtree Corners. I got the backing of a wonderful senator, former senator of this state, Max Cleland, to endorse my campaign in late of 2009. And he did a fundraiser for us in 2010 in Peachtree Corners. So Max, by the way, Max and myself share the same birthday, although not the same age, which is August 24th. So happy birthday, Max.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes, and and to Max as well, because Max and I, connected on a lot of things, and his book and everything that he wrote that in 2009 was great, along with some other books that I got signed. So I did. I did make a run try to make a run in 2010. Not on the party level. I tried to run as an independent. Did not happen. But you have to understand, when I wanted to run president, I was thinking of a local level and all of the people I'd be representing in the district at that time. And I wanted to do it on an even keel where I'm representing everybody and kind of taking in the ideas of everybody in the district. So I did have a discussion with a particular Secretary of State at that time, who's now our governor, by the way, about running as an independent. And he said, Brooke, you got to pick a party. I'm not kidding you. He said that back in 2010. I then did not. And then I did in 2012, which, like I said, I wish I had been on the ballot in 2010, but I wasn't. But in 2012, I decided I was going to run for this House seat in Peachtree Corners, Berkeley Lake, that area. At that time, it was still very red in that area.
Right.
And there were not very many people running for office. Wow. Okay. We had our president running for office. We had some people running for office, but not like what we have now. We don't have people. We didn't have Stacey Abrams, just so you understand. But Stacey and myself know each other very well. We all trained together at it was a program called White House Project. Myself, Stacey Abrams, Stacey Evans, and Nikema Williams, some other people. Nikema is now head of the party,
right.
Where we got some training as well. And like I said, the odds were against me of winning at all,
right?
Just so you understand. And so it wasn't necessarily pushed for me to run as a Democrat over there. But I had to make a decision. Do I do this for a party or a particular group of people, or do I do this because I want to be in this position because I want to represent the people of my district at the Georgia legislature, and because I had ideas back then that I still bring today. However, even bigger ideas now. And the fact that I had to run the same grassroots campaign that I was trained back with in 2008 for Obama, and I knew what the odds were against me.
Okay.
So I had to get out there and do it on my own.
Okay, so we're going to go to a song. We're going to come back and talk to Brooke and find out what is her plan. What are her plans for Gwinnett County? Listen, you're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, and today is a seat at the table. My guest is Ms. Brooke Siskin. She's running for the commissioner chair position here in Gwinnett County, where Charlotte Nash now resides, and who will be retiring after this season, after this year. And so we have a lot of candidates in this run. So we got a very interesting political year coming up ahead of us. I'm talking about super interesting. But listen, I'm gonna go to a song, and I'll be back to talk more with Brooke, and we want to see what she has in plan for our little place here, our little county. All right.
So this is what it means to be living in darkness. I didn't know you were the red inside my mind. No, I couldn't even tell if your shoes were yellow or if the sun
welcome back to Good Morning Gwinnett. Listen, I got at the table with me Miss Brooke Siskin running for the chairman commissioner seat here in Gwinnett County. You know, I got to tell you something. So they can't hear the songs playing, but I can hear them in my headphones. And I swear the songs is on my digital studio is much better than the songs on my other studio. I'm listening like, that is a great song. Because I got this whole catalog of songs that I play within the show. And I'm looking at my songs here. I'm like, these are some good songs. Now, they're not on my other platform, but they're here. All right, we're going to continue our talk with Ms. Brooke Siskin. She's running for chairman here in Gwinnett County. So, you know, Brooke, there are a lot of people who's running for the seat. And Chairman Nash has been in the seat for a long time. There's a lot of people that love what she's done here. And so kind of to fill her shoes is like a big job, I think. You know, I've talked to people on both sides of the party who absolutely love her. And I think that's amazing because that's kind of rare to find people on both sides that love a candidate, you know, a lot. So they admire all the things that she's done here. She's been here for a long time. So you have your hands full and filling these shoes. So tell me, what are some of the things that you feel that are important that Chairman Nash did not cover, or some of her legacies that you intend to carry on? Tell us about your plan for Gwinnett County if you are elected to this position. Okay,
so Chairman Nash and myself know each other very well. We worked just recently on I worked on Go Gwinnett, which was a coordinated effort, bipartisan effort of all leaders in Gwinnett County to come together for the MARTA plan. The failed MARTA plan, but the plan that we put forth. In fact, I knocked on several thousand doors, if not, a lot, from the course of January to March when we were trying to push this vote through. So I got to hear what the people were talking about. Now, I understand this plan was in place. They had been doing a feasibility study for the last 8 years. And then, of course, last year, this time, they were trying to put it on the November ballot of 2018, which did not happen. So the plan was to put it in March of this current year. So it was already kind of a situation where we knew maybe the people wouldn't come out to vote for it. So we had a short amount of time and dollars. When I say this, the group Go Gwinnett was put together as a nonprofit group, and we were raising money to get the word out because the county was not allowing us to they were not using funds in order to get the word out. Long story of it, because it's not a candidate, it was an issue. So we had to go out there like a campaign in a short amount of time and let people know about why we needed transportation and the reason why we needed it right now. So we did as much as we could based on how much money that we raised and got our initiative out there. However, what was going on was a series of things. We'd just come off an election, which, went either way for whichever party, won whatever they won. But what we were trying to do is to make people aware that we needed to vote on an initiative that was going to help every single Georgia or every single Gwinnett County resident because it's imperative now. We have 1 million plus people in this county. When I moved in, like I told you in '94, it was probably half that. And also Gwinnett County's changed over the last 26 years that I've been here. Okay, we're not a farm town or people don't live like one block behind each other, acres wide. We're all pretty much being right on top of each other these days based on the building that's been happening over the last 26 years. Everyone has moved to this county because it's always been something about affordable housing, good schools, good way of life, okay? So we now are in a situation where we're busting at the seams, okay? Right. And we need to talk about transportation. We need to get out there, and we need to discuss it as a community with our business partners, because here's the big thing that's going on right now. Business companies or corporations want to have transportation for their employees, because right now an average time an employee getting from one county or one area to the next is about 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't matter if they're 10 miles down the road. In order to get from point A to point B takes longer than normal now. Okay, now I wish a lot of people back when they told me the Olympics were coming to Georgia and Atlanta back in the 90s, they said we're going to be telecommuting by this time in our lives. Mm-hmm. We are and we aren't. Okay, we still have people having to get to some place. 23 years later, and I will say one thing: whatever plan was designed during this time frame, from when they knew that the vote was going to be in March of this year to when they planned it and how they pulled it out, I'm not going to say that everything was done correctly.
What do you think was done correctly, and what do you think that should have been done?
Okay. Basically, and I'm in marketing and I'm in PR and all that too. I went to school for that out in California. I feel that the plan was not put out correctly in the sense of it confused people.
That's right.
Okay? Here's the other thing. I think there is a general consensus here as Gwinnetians and people living here that we do need a form of transportation. I don't think everybody's saying, no, we don't. But what people are saying, because when I knocked on these doors, and I knocked on a lot of them, is, hey, listen, this plan's a little bit more confusing than what we want. And also, we want our own system. Because, we know about MARTA and the problems it's had and all this. We want our own system. We want the Gwinnett, transit system. Mm-hmm. I said, we got to start somewhere. Okay, we can't just all of a sudden just come up overnight and put a plan here in Gwinnett County and say, oh, nobody's going to pay for it. No, somebody's going to pay for it. We've got to do that. So the plan itself was put out there. There was a lot of information, a lot of town hall meetings. I went to a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Lots of confusion amongst people. Listen, people want simplification. Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Unfortunately, we've got a society that's plugged in and is always on the internet and on social media, and right. Catchy things are what people want to hear. They don't want to hear, okay, well, it goes here and da-da-da. They don't want that. Mm-hmm. What they want is concise, quick, and information that's going to help them. Right. And everybody's got a different story. And that's what I heard knocking on all those doors. Listen, you may not need MARTA, but your neighbor does. That kind of a thing. I mean, where do we come to that conclusion on everybody does need MARTA?
So let me ask you this, because I actually had a conversation with Chairwoman Nash at dinner, and
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, because I felt like what you're saying, people were confused, and I felt like they didn't know the alternatives. So if we don't get MARTA, then what? Mm-hmm. I don't think that was even put out enough. Okay, so we're going to get something, mm-hmm. right? Here's why MARTA is the more attractive partner versus what we're going to get if we don't sign on to this group. I think that wasn't put out there enough. But here's my question to you. You were knocking on thousands of doors. I'm sure that was with some other people as well. When you brought this information back to them and said, hey, listen, this is what people are saying, did they not take that into consideration? So now, okay, let's craft our message based on what people are saying, because if we say to them what they want to hear, the chances are they'll get on board, because we know that this is a better option, because the alternative is not so good.
Right. Well, okay, so I was not involved in those meetings. I was canvassing for the team. Okay. I did go back. We did have kind of a powwow of what was happening each day we were out there. But at that point, it was like the starting gate. We were already out of the starting gate, and they already shoot the gun to say, hey, we're doing it. So it was kind of a little bit out. It was already out of the starting gate at that point. Now I will tell you, I've got some friends in the commission who told me early on, if this thing, I said, what happens? Because I'm not seeing this going the right way. And they said, yeah, we kind of think that too. Well, what's going to happen if MARTA doesn't pass? Because you guys invested a lot of money. I said, well, we're going to up your property values. And I went, what? I said, wait a minute, you're going to penalize the people who may have voted for it with their homes? No, they're not going to like that. Right. Okay? That's not the way to go. Okay? So even though we have people that probably voted, a good majority of them voted for it and wanted it, they certainly were doing it not to have their home, increase their home values. I mean, property-wise, the mill rate. They want their property values to go up because selling and all that, but they don't want to pay more for something they felt was not to penalize them. Right. So, that I thought was a bad idea, and I knew that was coming down the pipe even before, it didn't have it. But here's the other thing. We should have had these discussions about how it impacts people, where they feel like they would be most able to use MARTA and how it might affect their lives in whatever way they think it would. I can tell you right now, some people use MARTA on a daily basis. Some people never use MARTA.
Right.
Some people use MARTA to go to the airport. I get it. But we all, at some point, might use MARTA in some way, fashion, or form.
Right.
And so we all have to talk about the reasons why we need MARTA. Now, we can't go another 10 years without a transportation
Right.
system.
'Cause it's
Okay?
going too fast.
It's too much now.
Yeah.
Okay? Too much going on, and we've got to talk about this, like, very quickly. But this time around, if I'm in there, those discussions will happen. Okay.
So I know you're passionate about MARTA. I know the MARTA referendum. I talked about that a lot because I was interested to see how it was going to turn out, and I felt like when you look around at all of the development that is really going on in Gwinnett County, I felt like people were like, okay, we need to have this transportation system. But what I heard people say on different forums and groups and things like that was that we want our own system. And what I heard Chairman Nash tell me, because we sat side by side at dinner in a beautiful restaurant, and I think I was in Duluth. It was beautiful. Anyway, she said to me, MARTA has the money to help us get to where we got to go. So my thing is, we're going to come back around next year. We're going to be in the same position. And if we don't have the money to make the system totally Gwinnett, what is the plan? Is there a plan to get that money? Because she said to me that was one of the issues, the funding to make this happen. MARTA has the funding for that. If Gwinnett does not have that funding, what do? Do you go back to the people again with MARTA, or is there a way for us to get that funding?
Okay. So I had this discussion last week with Stan Hall from he's the sporting teams for Gwinnett County over at the Chamber. We sat down, Stan and myself. I told him, I said, look, Stan, I've been in a whole different arena. As I'm going to be 51 on Saturday. I said I've lived in different parts of the country. I grew up in Chattanooga before there wasn't anything there, and now people go to Chattanooga. I will say one thing. Some of my experience from the past, I'm trying to break to the table for this position and to get elected, because I feel that there needs to be a combination of things now in Gwinnett County.
What are they?
The combination is involving corporations or small to medium-sized businesses that start themselves in Gwinnett County, that are developed in Gwinnett County, in the sense of everybody wants to connect with somebody here, okay? They want to do business in this county. I talked to a woman the other day. She says, I don't even do business in Georgia, much less Gwinnett County.
Wow.
But we have an international community in Gwinnett County that's not even doing business with other Gwinnett County businesses.
Right.
So we've got a focal point right this very second, and I call it the pimple on Gwinnett County. It's called Gwinnett Place Mall. Okay? That place, and I have to tell you, I look at it all the time and I go, why is it still there? Okay? Other than the fact that I know Stranger Things films in there. But you have to understand that they film a show from the 1980s when I was growing up about a mall that when I was growing up that's no longer. Malls are going by the wayside. I hate to say this. It's sad. I love them. But I got a 21-year-old that doesn't go shopping in a mall anymore. She buys everything online. Okay? What I'll tell you is that focal point of Gwinnett Place Mall being the focal point of where we need to do the redevelopment like quick, and we need to add in possibly what they were talking about, but now it's failed, this cricket stadium.
I was just about to say that.
Right. To put in there, because cricket, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know about cricket, but I know some people do, because I saw them watching it and going crazy, just like the Atlanta United has been doing here and all that. So the development that I'm talking about that would incorporate both a sporting team, businesses being involved in it, having, live, work, and play, and also having a connection to MARTA. And the reason why I say that is we got to start somewhere, and that connection would go where that original OFS plant is going to have their transit station hub, and then coming up, 85 to the corridor where the mall sits, and then everything spouting from there. Right. And I say that is everything connects. All right, we connect. Sugar Hill and Buford and Decula and Grayson and all that to a focal point being right there. Okay? Now, this is a long-range plan, and I may not even be living by the time this whole thing is completed, okay? But what I'm saying is it'll be there for the future, and that's what I'm talking about. And we have to be talking about the future, not the past anymore.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of our discussion right now in this country is about the past.
Right.
It's not about the future.
Right.
We are in the future. You cannot go back. We can only go forward.
That's
We
right.
can only deal with what we have now and make ourselves better for the future. So one of the things, the ideas that I'm taking right now is based on my cousin, who is the mayor of Chattanooga and has been. And his idea in what they've been doing in downtown Chattanooga, which is development of a city that didn't even look like what it did 35 years ago when I grew up there. They have moved the entire Lookout Stadium, which is their A farm team or whatever, kind of like the, I guess the Stripers or anything like that. They physically moved that stadium from a really historic stadium. They filmed The Natural there, by the way, that Robert Redford movie, and moved it to downtown Chattanooga where the aquarium is and all the other things. And that's something. And one case in point, going back to a MARTA system, which is way bigger here would be than there. They have the CARTA system, which is the Chattanooga transit system. They've developed a electric bus system that goes down the middle of their main thoroughfare, which connects up with the aquarium, the Lookout Stadium, and all that, and then takes it all the way down to like the neighborhoods that they're trying to redevelop now that used to be neighborhoods nobody would ever go in. Or let's just say certain neighborhoods nobody would ever go in. So that's their long-range plan. And they're involving everybody to be the focal point of downtown Chattanooga, where everybody comes into there. So everything's connected, kind of like the European system in Europe and all that. When you go to a city in Europe, everything connects in. You don't have to drive here and get on a train here. You don't have to go here and get on. You go from point A to point B. You may have to intersect somewhere, but you're going into one area where everybody sees and does and hangs out. I talked to a guy who was down at, I was in Pond City Market downtown on Sunday, and he said, I don't have a reason to go into Gwinnett County. I said, why not? He goes, I don't know what's there, and I don't have a reason to, and I can't get there because I don't have a car. And I said, well, how would you like it if you were sitting in Pond City Market and you were able to get on a train or something like that and go straight there to Gwinnett County? Maybe you have to change a couple times, but still, you go straight there, you see what's there, you hang out, you come back.
Now you saying that, right? And I know that was another issue that a lot of the residents of Gwinnett felt like, you know what, if we put this system in, we're going to have these unsavory people giving them easy access to get up to Gwinnett County. Now, I know crime is everywhere. I do know that. It's here in Gwinnett. It's everywhere. But I felt like a lot of people felt like, okay, so we put this system in, people that wouldn't normally visit Gwinnett, now they're going to come to Gwinnett.
Okay. So let me explain something to you. There's a lot of good people everywhere. So my whole thing is these are the people I'm talking to. This was a student. This is a guy who was an entrepreneur. Okay. I want to tell you, and he told me this too. He don't have a reason to get on a train in downtown Atlanta, come all the way up and rob somebody and come all the way down. He doesn't have enough time in the day. This guy, I'm serious, he goes to school and he's an entrepreneur. I'm going to tell you, he's looking for opportunities to build his business into another county. So we're talking about a future business in Gwinnett County. These are people. It's not about, like, and I'll go back to this, fear. Okay, this is the big word right now, fear. False images appearing real.
Right.
Okay, this is what's going on in this country. This is what's going on in this county. This is what's going on in our general conversation. Are we fearful about what's going to happen in the future?
Right.
Or should we go ahead and take advantage of what's happening right now and take care of, so that we don't talk about the past?
Right.
Okay? And I'll tell this to one other thing, because you interviewed Derek and you interviewed a couple other people. And I say to all these candidates, and anybody running for office, when you're in a car and you're driving straight down the road, you're looking straight ahead. You're not looking at your side mirrors and you're not looking at the back, because you know you'll get in a wreck. So what do? You go move forward. You move forward and you talk about the future and you talk about what's important now. Yes, we have a past that a lot of people want to either talk about or they don't want to talk about. But we can talk about that at a table with discussions about that. Well, if you're wanting to, run for office and show that you want to make a difference, you got to be talking about the future, and you got to talk about how you're going to do that, and you got to talk about ways that you are going to help everyone, not just a certain few. Right. Because that's not what we're about. This is America. We're about everybody. I hate to say it, we're about everybody.
That is true. Listen, we're going to go to a song. We're going to come back and talk more because I want to know about two things. Two things is on my mind right now. And I know this is a long interview, guys. But listen, when I got a good guest, I want to keep it going. And we won't be much longer, but I do want to talk about the small business owner. And I do want to talk about affordable housing here in Gwinnett. So I'm going to play a song, and then I'm going to come back. You're listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. Listen, if you missed the episode of the show, go ahead over to goodmorninggwinnett.com and subscribe to the show. Make sure you don't miss it on iTunes, iCloud, everywhere. Everywhere you think you can listen to the show, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you can do it. Amazon Fire TV, we're there. Listen, I'll be right back to bring you more. Talking to, I just lost my train of thought. Talking to, don't even get me. Brooke, I'm losing it right now.
Just
I'm talking to Brooke Siskin here, sitting at the table. I just lost it. That's a senior moment. That's what happens. All right, I'll be back.
I know that I just met you, but you look. Oh, girl, you blow my mind. I know what I would like to do, but you just keep on talking. I see your dog needs walking. Your folk drive you insane. I know, yeah, that's true. Of course, you ain't the one to blame. Keep on talking to me. You keep on telling me your dreams. You keep on talking to me, but I just wanna see you move. See you move. I just wanna see you move. I just wanna see you move. Sure, I like to listen. It's not like I don't wanna know. It's just that you've been talking to me 3 nights in a row. I think it's time to let go. Forget the past, just lose control. Cause life's too short for yapping. Come on and dance, come give me soul. You keep on talking to me. You keep on talking to me. You keep on talking. You keep on talking to me. You keep on telling me your dreams. You keep on talking, but I just wanna see you move. I just wanna see you move. I just wanna see you move. I just wanna see you move.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. You listen to me live here with Brooke Siskin running for commissioner here in Gwinnett County for the chairman's position, where she'll be replacing Chairman Nash if she wins this thing. So, Brooke, thank you again for being here. There are a lot of businesses that come into Gwinnett County, and I talk about them all the time. And it's nice to see that there are businesses bringing jobs into the county. But what I find is that there's not I'm not going to say a lot of love for the micro businesses, but there are not a lot of resources for the micro businesses. There are a lot of opportunities and partnerships for. And when we say small business, a small business is considered a business with 50 employees, right? Up to 50, making millions of dollars. There are a lot of micro businesses that are not making millions of dollars. And I feel like there are just not enough resources for that business owner. So do you have any plans to support the micro businesses that are in the county? Because there are a lot of them. I'm a micro business. Like Good Morning Gwinnett is a micro business. I've been trying to figure out how to partner with the county, but I haven't figured it out yet. Even after talking to some county members, I haven't figured it out yet. What are there plans for micro businesses?
So, great you asked that question. I ran a small business myself. Okay, I get it. I'm a huge networker when it comes to getting out there. I'll tell you, anyone who knows me, I'll go up and find out. I want to know about your business. I want to know about, what makes you tick? Why are you doing what you're doing? I love small businesses. I'm not going to say I don't like the corporations, but listen, in the long run, corporations will survive. Small businesses is where it's at. Right. Now, I'm going to go back because I'm old. I'm going to go back to the 70s and 80s where, listen, the majority of the businesses when I grew up and the people I was dealing with were small business owners. Right. People, the local grocery store, the local pharmacy, or, just anything. Everyone knew your name, kind of like the Cheers, show of the 80s. But what that promoted was a sense of camaraderie and knowing, that, listen, they know who I am. They're going to help me. They always look for referrals. They know who, they got your back. And so, with Gwinnett County, and I've found this out over the last several years because everybody's moving here, that there are a lot of small business owners. Small to medium-sized business owners. And they're always looking for where they can connect with others. Okay, so you can go to the chamber meetings, or you can go to your normal, and you can join up, and you can join an organization. Does it help you? Does it hurt you? When you're looking at your bottom line, how much money do you sacrifice going and being in these businesses? Lots of people out there doing that. That's kind of the idea that I also, as being chairwoman of this county, want to promote. And I go back. Let's just go back to the cricket stadium and to Gwinnett Place Mall. And because I harken back to when I was in California, I actually went to school at UC Davis, and I had an internship with the Oakland Athletics at the time. A man that coined the term corporate sponsorship was the one who told us about it. He said back in 1988, he says, look, I'm going to throw something out at you guys. It's called corporate sponsorship. When you go to a sports stadium, you're going to see so-and-so's business behind it or at that. And so I'm going to tell you in the next 30 years it's going to be big, and yes, it is. However, now that it's big with the bigger companies such as a MetLife or a Mercedes-Benz, right. Because those are the people who can afford it. Those are the people who can have a box seat and all that. What about the small to medium-sized business owner? Right. Where do they get a piece of the pie? Okay, and that's what I'm talking about. If that development is done in the way that I see it, in having small to medium-sized businesses kind of buy into that effect and have their name placement and have be responsible for what builds Gwinnett County in the future.
I got an idea, but I'm going to keep that idea to myself for right now when you said that. And it was one that I did with my church when I was in Jersey. But here's I was here, actually. Well, I was in Jersey first, and then I brought it here to another church. But here's my thing. So I'm a member of the Gwinnett Chamber. As a matter of fact, I'm up for the Moxie Award next Thursday. Thank you, Gwinnett Chamber, for that recognition. There are opportunities to network, right? And I know everything is about relationship. Mm-hmm. Right, and here's the funny part about that. I didn't realize that so much until I got to Jersey. I got to Georgia, because in Jersey it's like, listen, let's sit down, let's see how we're gonna make this thing happen. Let's make it happen. Not here in Georgia. Everybody wants to network. They want to have coffee. They want to have dinner. They want to get to know you, and I get that. People do business with people they like and know. I get that part. But a lot of times, the smaller businesses, you go to a networking event, everybody around the table is hungry. Mm-hmm. Right, everybody is looking at you like it's like a big lion who hasn't eaten in 3 days, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch and see, who mm-hmm. can I bite today. Mm-hmm. So it's the same kind of thing. I feel like there's a gap between what's available to help support micro businesses and that the small business and mid-sized businesses. Like there's a gap in mm-hmm. here. So I pay $500 to become a chamber member. I go to a ton of networking events. I network, mm-hmm. and hopefully somebody will say, you know what, I need to buy an ad on Good Morning Gwinnett. Mm. That's what I'm hoping for, right? Right. But it doesn't happen because everybody in the room is hungry. Right. So it's like, well, do I spend the money on Good Morning Gwinnett because I got 3 more events to go to that's going to cost me, money, because it's like a catch-22 almost. And I feel like that's, to me, there are so many home-based, mom-based mm-hmm. businesses that just don't get the same opportunities. Right. What about government contracting? What does that really look like? I know they had like this government come out and talk to the government kind of thing. You run around, you talk to everybody at the table, and then mm-hmm. And they're saying, yeah, well, we really don't have opportunity, and why are you in the room? Right. Here's my thing. If you know you don't really have an opportunity, and this is supposed to be an event that told you how to do business with the government, then you shouldn't even be in the room. That space should be for somebody else. And so, but is it because I need to keep up the face and make it look like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and that's just me being out in the community and going to different events and talking to different people and saying, you know what, there's still a gap there.
Right.
How do we fill that gap? How do we make the small business person, you know, I know, don't get me wrong, I know Gwinnett does a lot of things for the small business, but there are a group of business owners that are at home. Mm-hmm. They come to places like the Cornerstone so they can get out of their house, mm-hmm. which is a co-working space here in Lawrenceville. Mm-hmm. They also have the Sweet Spot in Sugar Hill. They also have Garage Works in Snellville. They also have the Tech Village over in Peachtree Corners. There are a lot of them. But even with those, you know, a membership here for me to be able to use this room is $189 a month.
Right.
So I may not have that in my budget.
Right.
There may be a small business on. There's something missing for that group
right.
of people.
And, you know, I hate to say it. Listen, money talks and you know what walks.
Yeah.
I understand that. So, yeah, we have to make it affordable to come together and meet others and network with others. And especially now in this internet world and the social media world where, listen, I will tell you something. I love the internet. I love technology, but it's taken us away from communication. And when I say communication, actually having a physical conversation with somebody in person is not happening anymore. And the reason why is because we're so interconnected now through a different medium. Like I said, when I grew up, there was no internet. And I'm going to tell my age. What we all did is we went somewhere. Listen, I'm going to tell you, we had to. There was no reason. We couldn't text and say, hey, or we couldn't say, hey, I can't, or whatever. Now, we also made time. That was the big thing. We made time to sit down and talk with people. I know people's lives are crazy right now. I mean, you know what's so funny? I was canvassing, and I'll tell this real story going back to MARTA. It was Katie with my friend Melanie who we were out canvassing up in Grayson one night. It was a Friday night around 6 o'clock. I'm just not going to get. We physically got. They told us, hey, go all the way from Norcross to Grayson. Oh God, that was like away. Listen, we're on the Athens Highway, and I said to her, I said, you know what? It's 6 o'clock. Let's just go on to Athens. No, we got to go to this neighborhood. We went in this neighborhood. Beautiful homes. I said, Melanie, I don't think there's anybody that lives here. I think this is a made-up neighborhood. She says, no, there are people here. I said, nobody's here. You see it's pitch black. She's like, well, wait a minute. Let's just knock on some door. Nobody was around. I'm serious. I thought it real. Like I said, no, this is a joke. I'm not kidding you. Beautiful home. The reason why people weren't there at 6:30 at night because they were trying to get to their homes. They probably got home around 10 o'clock at night. Then they have to eat dinner and do it all over again or whatever. They're probably not having conversations with their family. They're probably upset about what happened all day long. They had to take their kids to practice or whatever. And, the whole idea of a family dinner and hanging out and getting to talk to somebody has just diminished completely.
But we have to bring it back. I mean, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. That's up to the people that live in the community in their home.
Right.
Like that's up to you. We have a lot of resources at our hands right now for different things.
Right.
When you have a family, and I know you're trying to make ends meet. I get it. I understand that, but you have to say at some point, my family is important. I need to raise my child. Let me tell you a quick story. When I became an entrepreneur, and I'm dating myself 20-something years ago, mm-hmm. and I've been doing this full-time just that long, my daughter was in the 3rd grade, I think it was. And I was a single parent, and I was running my business, and I ran it, almost 24/7, like I barely slept. And I remember getting a report from her school, and they said to me, her grades are slipping. So I go into the school, and I'm talking to the teacher. I'm like, what do you mean her grades are slipping? You know what the teacher said to me? She said, Miss Bell, because I wasn't married at the time. She said, Miss Bell, she said you work all the time. Mm-hmm. I felt like the worst parent in the world. I cried like half the day. But what I did was I made an adjustment. So my adjustment was when she's home, mm-hmm. I'm with her. Mm-hmm. I stop the work. When she goes to bed at 8 o'clock, I start again. I work until about 3 o'clock in the morning. I get up and take her to school at 7:30. I start my day working again. When she comes home at 3, I stop. Mm-hmm. You have to make the adjustments when things are important to you. Speaking of things that are important to you, and we're going to wrap in a few minutes, so I just want to touch on this real quick. What are your thoughts on affordable housing here in Gwinnett County? There's a lot of development right? And I'm looking at it all the time. Here's the thing. All of the houses are okay, say from 300 and up, but by the time you get there, it's $465,000. So that's not affordable for a lot of people. What's your thoughts on affordable housing?
I got you right there. Lately, I've been in talks with 2 mayors of 2 cities here in Gwinnett to discuss an idea, because I myself am looking for alternative housing now. I'm 51 on Saturday. My daughter lives in Boston. I am divorced. It's just me. And I don't need very much space. I'm kind of that in-betweener. I don't qualify for the 55-plus community yet,
right.
But I don't know if and I don't qualify to be in assisted living yet. Now, if I start talking crazy, let me know, and we'll see if they want to put me in there. But I will tell you, and then on the other spectrum is the millennials, the people who are the 20-somethings that don't have a family, or they just want, affordable housing. They've got the money, but they don't got the money to buy a $600,000 house either, and they don't need a $600,000 house. They don't need a $400,000 house. So something that I have just been investigating over the last, 6 or 7 months is called a tiny home community. Okay? Now, when I say a tiny home, I know that show Tiny Homes, everybody's living in something that looks like a box and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an affordable home that runs around under $100,000, right around that part, which is equipped on the latest and greatest, LEED certified, solar, all that stuff like that. I was able to view a community up in Rabun County, which is north, in the mountains. Okay. This was a new development. The developers are actually out of Atlanta. So a lot of these companies are starting up this last year or so to build these type of communities. They're doing it out west. They always do everything out west. And then they're coming east, and they've have some properties in this particular company has a property in Franklin, North Carolina, and Greer, South Carolina. And now they're trying to break into Georgia. This community was more of a pilot community, but also for people who want to just have a vacation home up in the mountains. But they purchased an old RV park and returned it into a community. And when I say a community, it don't look like, the RV. It looks like an actual community with a community house, and everybody kind of comes together and they share the services. And they're beautiful homes. They've got like 8 models up there. That weekend I went up there, they were selling them like giving an incentive, because they have an incentive that they can work with the state to give a kind of a program to give you back money for buying one of these things. And they sold, there was 54 of them, and they sold about 18 that weekend, and they still are selling the others. These tiny home communities can be produced on a different level in Gwinnett County, and we have the space for it. Okay. And they are affordable. Yes, we do. But here's the thing, and everybody knows this. There's a zoning issue. Okay, because of the way they are zoned. That is the big thing right now. And that's what I'm talking to some of these city council and mayors about, how we can rezone these communities so that we can have them in Gwinnett County. Now, DeKalb County is doing that right now. Ted Terry with Clarkston has 8 that he has on his city property that he has a wait list. But they're not even in building stage, and they already have a wait list. Wow. Dorable's thinking about it. I've talked with them. Gwinnett County is better prepared to do this more than any county in the state, because of the resources it has. Okay? And the fact of the matter is it's recession proof. I hate to tell y'all all, everybody listening, I'm not the bearer of bad news, but what comes up must come down. We did have this housing problem back in 2008, where everybody was underwater and everybody did something. Good times were there, and then all of a sudden bad times came. But these are the things that are going to last. And you're going to have people that live, work, and these people that buy these homes are going to have more money to spend in the cities that they live in, in the county that they live in. They may even start a business in Gwinnett County. I'm not sure, but these are the new future. And I'm wholeheartedly pushing this in Gwinnett County. And if I do get elected, this is going to be the opportunity that I see in the future than in the past. So I will tell you, we are in talks with 2 mayors that I know very well, and they're both agreeing to this program.
Well, thank you so much. Listen, and we could go on and on, but I can't because we are an hour and 15 minutes in. I wanted to talk about student loan debt, but we'll talk about that another time. I'm sure we'll be talking again. Listen, Brooke has told us what her plans are. I like a lot of them, especially the tiny home community. Like my daughter is a millennial. She's a parent. She's a single parent, and when she saw a house, she looked at a house, and she's looking to buy a house. She looked at a house recently, and she was in love with the house. And I was kind of surprised because, I'm thinking she wants something extravagant, and she's like, no, I want a home. And I was like, it was a cute house. It was just big enough for she and her daughter. It was 3 bedrooms, but it was just she said, this is the perfect house for me. And it was a good house, but I was just surprised because I'm thinking she wanted something big and extravagant. She's like, no, I don't want that. I really don't even want to be in the city like that. I want to be where I'm in a community where I know my neighbor. Now, I get that because I love that. I grew up in Newark, right? Newark is a hard place. However, you knew your friends, you knew your neighbors. My brother still go to the same neighborhood. He sent me a picture the other day from the neighborhood where we grew up with all his friends that were living, because a lot of them are not living. And I was like, man, I don't even recognize those guys. But that's what we grew up. We grew up with friends and neighbors, and I knew Miss Williams, and I knew Miss Gandy, and I knew, Miss Snipes. I knew these people. They knew me. Their daughters were my friends, and I liked the boy down the street, and, that's how we grew up. I live in the community right now. I don't know anybody. I've been there 6 years. I kind of wave, but I don't know their names. I know one person's name, and he just moved there probably 8 months ago. That's because he was just nice and friendly, and I'm a friendly person. No, I know 2 people's name. The guy across the street, I don't know his family, but I know his name because he helped my uncle move, and the guy right next door. But he got a wife, he got kids, he got a wife, I don't know. And it's like people are like, so like, I don't want to get to know you. I don't like that. So I feel like a tiny home community is a way for you to know your neighbors again.
You'll know your neighbors because you'll be right next to them.
Right next to them, because that's how I grew up. I grew up in where you can almost put your hand out the window and touch the house next to you. That's how it was. We grew up on the bricks. That's what we called it. Here, you can't touch them, but they're still very closed off. So I like that whole thing. Listen, thank you so much, Brooke, for taking the time to spend with me. And thank you all for listening. I know you could have been anywhere in the world, but you spent the last hour and 17 minutes here listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett show. I got more stuff coming for you guys. I got more good people coming to share their views about what they're trying to do. And I got some entrepreneurs that's going to sit down at this table. And Brooke and I are going to talk about some things because I'm a champion for the micro entrepreneur. I'm a micro entrepreneur. You know what I mean? I work from home. I work from the co-working space. I got a membership here at the Cornerstone, which is a beautiful co-working space, right? But maybe not all small businesses can afford to drop $189, $249 a month to come in here. Maybe they cannot. It could be a strain on them. You know what I mean? So I know that there are a lot more micro businesses out there that could really use some help. How do they get a government contract? What is the certification process? Is it for me? And we're going to address that stuff right here on the Good Morning Gwinnett show because these are things that are near and dear to my heart, as well as the people that I'm going to elect to put in office. So I need to know what they're talking about. So that's why I talk to a lot of them because I want to know. I'm on a need-to-know basis, right? But listen, thank you again for listening. I'll be back again on Monday, God willing. And if you missed any episode of the show, go over to goodmorninggwinnett.com and share the show with your friends. And listen, I'm trying to make this a 12-hour network. It's just me right now, but I'm trying to take it from 12 to 12, baby. That means I'm going to bring on more show hosts to be on the show and have their own show from 12 midnight to 12 p.m., about 6 to 8 more. I was so excited yesterday because I realized I'll be creating jobs. I was excited about that. Like, once I said it on Monday or Tuesday, I was like, holy crap, I'm going to be an employer. So go on over to support the show, goodmorninggwinnett.com. You can buy a T-shirt, buy a bag, whatever it is. But here's the thing. It's going to help me bring on more show hosts to the show. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back again on Monday, God willing. Until next time, make it a great day, y'all. Bye now.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in daily at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you miss an episode, go to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com to catch up. If you like this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the show now and share it with your friends.